I've made over six figures in my early 20s from online business. And here's one thing that I noticed: the people who have actually have money don't flex with designer, fancy watches, or even, the latest stuff. That's really what broke people do that want to try and look rich. Now, real wealth plays by a completely different set of rules. In today's video, we're going to talk about luxury brands, why people fall for them, and what millionaires actually spend their money on, and how you can use these tactics to even make you wealthy. Now, number one, luxury brands sell status, not quality. And this one is kind of crazy that I think people are starting to pick up on, right? Because really back in the day, you would see these really loud, Gucci, Louis Vuitton, all these different brands that they would have their logos plastered everywhere. And it was really, and even sometime today as well, is kind of a status symbol to where you see someone that has these things. And there's almost something in our brain that these companies are using to trick us that makes us think that, oh man, this is like some crazy quality hoodie. It looks so nice. But the truth is, they're selling $800 hoodies for $80, right? And what they're really doing is they're marking things up, and then they're marketing it to you in a certain way that you perceive it as a more expensive product, right? And that can be said for a lot of different industries, but this is a place where people spend so much money on, and it's so visible to see as well, right? What you're really paying for is the logo. You're not paying for any sort of value, any type of quality that you're getting better. It's literally just a logo. So you have to keep that in mind, because millionaires and wealthy people play by different rules, right? If you have a lot of money, a lot of times people don't want to attract a ton of attention. What they want to do is they want to stay low key, but they don't let luxury brands really sway them one way or another, right? And broke people really chase status because they don't have real assets to back it up. It's a tough truth to swallow, but there you have it. Number two, millionaires buy freedom, not flexes. And man, I love this mindset, right? Because if you in order to be, financially ahead of the crowd and of other people, right? And the majority of people are in debt, right? And you have some sort of ambition and some sort of, financial literacy, about finances. Man, you can get so much farther ahead just by taking the money you have, and instead of putting it directly towards, whether it's clothes, shoes, jewelry, whatever it is, instead taking those and putting it into an asset that can generate you more income, man, that is the name of the game. It's almost like denying yourself, right? And especially as someone who, I'm into a lot of the fashion. I see a lot of these things out here. You see it everywhere. You see so many different people wearing designer, wearing the different clothing. But it's crazy how on the opposite side, a lot of millionaires or people that you see wear the same exact thing every single day, right? And that really comes down to using brain power and making decisions and kind of having a decision fatigue, because we can only make so many decisions during our day. And you obviously want to make good decisions, but it's kind of crazy how the people who don't have it want to flex it, and then the people who really have it don't even want you to know. Right? And the logo, remember, does not move you any closer to financial freedom, right? And that's what a lot of people's goals are, including my own, right? Freedom is greater than flexing. Remember that, right? And you're going to see so many things out there, and especially being in different cities, big cities, man, fashion is a huge part of really culture in certain cities. So just even anywhere, so just seeing it online, in person, it makes you have a certain desire to get those things, but you have to deny yourself if you want true freedom and true wealth. Number three, flexing keeps you broke, right? Every single dollar that you take, and you're putting your hard-earned time and money, your time into, right? It could have gone into investments, building a business, something that can generate you income long term, right? You really want to avoid the whole looking rich cycle that people chase, right? And like I mentioned earlier, the majority of people are in debt. We have to keep that in mind, right? So what do people do? A designer brand markets you and gets you thinking that, oh, because I'm going to buy this type of brand, it's going to make me worth more as a person, right? Because if you let these brands take over your whole identity, that's where you really mess up, right? Because they capitalize really on people's identity to say, okay, you're not a person of value, so you can take this brand, this bag, this watch, this jewelry, and what is that going to do? It's going to make you a person of value. It's going to make you better than you currently are. The people that have those type of brands, those type of watches, they're better than you, right? And a lot of people fall for the trick, and I'm not immune to it, right? There are certain things, sure, that I think look nice that I end up buying, but you have to keep it in mind, right? Obviously, you have to spend within your limits, and just remember, right, that if you want to be, in a strong financial position, these are things that you have to be aware of because, man, people spend thousands, hundreds of thousands, probably even millions, some people, on designer, and you have to understand what you're getting in return in the game that these designer brands are actually playing on you. And the worst thing to do would be in a position where you're literally living paycheck to paycheck, buying things you can't afford, again, to always impress people that you literally don't even care about. It is insane. And if you're someone who would rather build real wealth instead of, flexing money on some of these designer brands, click the link in the description. I have my course where I'm teaching people how to grow on YouTube and generate income. And if you're interested in starting to build actual wealth, starting to build that freedom that we're talking about, adding an extra income stream, talking about things you already love to talk about, click the link in the description. Number 4, luxury locks you into lifestyle creep. And lifestyle creep is an interesting one, right? Because think about it. Lifestyle creep is basically when you make more money, and what you do with that money is you inflate your lifestyle to match how much you're making. And it's almost human nature because for a lot of people, it's almost impossible not to do this, right? And really the only way that majority of people are going to be able to avoid lifestyle creep without using, discipline or willpower, which is obviously a finite resource, is this one thing. You have to automate and you have to use, you can't see the money. That's basically what you have to do, right? Because once you see it and you see, okay, I kind of have a cushion, man, maybe I'm going to spend this, maybe I'm going to spend that. And then what happens is, right, people are stuck in the same position year after year because they let these things go, right? You inflate, and what happens if, let's say, you lose your job or you lose that stream of income? Man, you're in a bad position, right? Because your expenses now are so high, and now you're not matching that income, and now you're stuck like Chuck. You're in trouble, right? So you always have to keep in mind, even if you're making more money, that doesn't mean that you just go ahead and spend more. Really, the ideal situation would be to invest into more assets, and once those are generating you income, to spend that money, and at least you're in a vehicle to where it's generating your income, and you're not just trading your time for money anymore, but you're using things like passive assets to help you out as well, right? And especially with lifestyle creep, what you're doing is spending to maintain an image, which, man, it's a destructive path, right? And that's why you see so many people that look like they're doing well. But what happens when you really take a look at their finances? Because a lot of people on the outside, yeah, they look good. But when you see what's really going on, the true character of the person, how things are really going on, I'm telling you, it's not as pretty as what the outside looks like. Number 5, spend on assets, not appearances. Now, assets are things that put money into your pocket, right? And that could be a business, right? Any type of business, side hustles, right? Maybe you're selling a product, drop shipping, any of these YouTube channels, any of these different assets that you can literally put things into. And maybe if you spend your time or money, you can actually generate income out of it, right? Stocks, real estate, all of this type of stuff. So it's important that when you generate that income, to take that and put it into places that can continually grow. And especially it's great with ones that are passive, that don't really make you, put all of your time and energy into it, right? And always remember, right, appearances drain your pocket. And once you understand this, right, you stop chasing the clout, you stop chasing all of this status, and you're really just focused on generating your income, then you're one step closer to reaching that financial freedom, and generating the actual type of income that you want to. Now, if you love learning about finances and money, click this video on the screen to learn more.